pepper spray for breakfast.
What's the surprise you have for me, Steven?
Elijah Wood's going to be in the next Putrid Productions release.
Hello, everyone.
That doesn't look like mayo.
Will you lay naked in the sewer with me?
Hey everybody, I'm Jonathan Doe. I'm a podcaster, YouTuber, and filmmaker.
And my name is Steven. I'm a filmmaker, special effects guy, and a stuntman.
I like collecting oddities, exploring true crime cases, and directing extreme cinema.
If you like blood, gore, creatures, and more, then we've got what you're looking for. You're watching Scream Time. Jonathan Doe.
You guys want to hear what this motherfucker did? So we already shot this whole episode, like for real, like the whole thing from beginning to end, and he didn't have the audio on. So this is episode 6, part 2.
Because we got first way through the first shot and then realized it wasn't running audio. And then I turned it off and shot the whole episode with the audio off.
It's okay. We'll make it happen.
I
You guys are going to be surprised, but I'm not. So today, we're talking about William Lustig's 1980 Maniac.
For the third time.
So, Steven, why don't you share with me for the first time your memory of Maniac?
Funny you should ask, John. I've never told anyone this story before. So disappointed in myself. Okay. The first time... Oh, and I have to tell this depressing story again, too.
Yeah, I'm still disappointed in you.
John's still disappointed in me. John's disappointed in me, everyone, because I didn't watch the original Maniac first. I watched the remake, and it was good, but I wanted to go back and watch the original. Just as the cookie crumbled, I got to see the remake first, but I did want to do it right and go see the original. It's obviously one of my favorites in my collection now. I watch the movie just about every year. And it's an awesome little piece of horror meets exploitation cinema.
Wow, that's a really interesting story I've never heard before.
Thank you. Yeah, I haven't definitely practiced that 2 other times before.
Well, here's my first time telling you this story. I was probably like 12, and
No.
I had
12?
I don't know, dude. I was in middle school for sure. I had started diving into and exploring. Fuck you.
I'm so stupid, dude. This is all my fault. I'm so dumb. Okay.
So I'm like 12 years old. I had gone through the catalog of like all the classics. I discovered Cannibal Holocaust when I was like 12, and I wanted to get my hands on it. But I'm fucking 12, so I don't have a credit card. I don't have access to the internet. There was a store called Suncoast Video, which actually fucking ruled. So I would go through the horror section and just go A all the way to Z, like through all of them. And one movie caught my attention, which was I Spit on Your Grave. But that's where I learned the phrase exploitation. And this is like Wild West internet. This isn't fucking apps and shit. Apps didn't exist. I just would go on Google and type in exploitation film, and then these like independent horror sites that people had would have lists. It's justamove.co.uk. And they had like a huge list of movies, and you'd click on the movie and it would have a cover scan, like a VHS cover scan of the movie.
Wow.
So I just would go through and I'd click the covers, and I saw the cover for Maniac, and it had the tagline, I warned you not to go out at night and stuff. And this is the same time I'm like learning about true crime and all this kind of stuff, so it was like my two worlds like collided. I suddenly had this like catalog of exploitation films on this list. Now I'm going to Suncoast Video. I'm still looking for Cannibal Holocaust, but now I'm going through the alphabetical order thing again. So I bought Maniac, and one feeling that I missed that I loved was finding a movie and like looking at its cover art and being a little kid and being like, I don't know if I'm brave enough to watch this. The murder in Maniac is very, like, a lot more realistic than you get in, like, the other slashers. The first sex worker that gets murdered, like, he strangles her for a while.
You feel like you're in the scene with that person being strangled as well. It takes forever.
Yeah, like, as a fucking 12, 13-year-old, I was like, whoa, this is crazy. I was proud of myself that I had, like, I marathoned through this movie that was really pushing boundaries for me at the time.
I love that whole story about you finding the word exploitation on the back of I Spit on Your Grave and trying to pick up other exploitation films.
Yeah.
If you guys think it's hard trying to find a film now with the internet, when you go, man, this guy lives so far away, he's from Japan, he's from Italy, or whatever it is. Imagine being a 13-year-old Jonathan Doe looking for Cannibal Holocaust on VHS.
Yeah, you're on Reddit and you're like, there's nowhere I can stream this. It's like, you can buy it though. At least you can buy it. It used to be hard back in the day. So.
Totally, yeah, it was a different world, apples and oranges, especially when you're 13.
Yeah.
You're at the mercy of wherever your parents take you.
Oh, this is fun. So I've been a punk my whole life, right? Yeah. So I had a battle vest and I had patches and stuff sewed onto it. I'm a fucking kid, so I'm buying all these movies that I don't want my parents to see. So I sewed in pockets to my battle vest.
Oh, that's sick.
And then I'd go to the mall and I'd buy movies I fucking couldn't own, and I would I would hide them in my jacket, and so I could walk around free. It looked like I didn't have anything. Meanwhile, I'm like sneaking fucking Cannibal Holocaust and Men Behind the Sun in my jacket.
That's amazing. That's very much a John Waters move. John Waters sewed a sleeve into his jacket so he could shoplift records. And
Hell yeah.
So that's so crazy.
Yeah.
Johns think alike, I suppose, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
I totally forgot about that too until this very moment. I bought Umberto Lenzi's Eaten Alive, which has like a naked girl on the cover, and
you can't bring that home.
Yeah, I grabbed that and I slipped it in there, and then we're in the car. She's like, "You guys didn't get anything?" I was like, "No."
So Eaten Alive has a very cool cover art.
Mm-hmm.
Maniac happens to be one of my favorite cover arts, with the Joe Spinell bulge and everything in there, which actually upset a lot of women's groups at the time. And the reason why I know that is because there's a band, Acid Witch, that has a song called Cheap Gore. And in Cheap Gore, they take a sound bite from what sounds like a local news station doing a report out in front of a movie theater about this offensive new movie, Maniac. It's a really cool sound bite. But speaking of cool footage, I was going to say surprise for you, but you know it's coming because we shot this already.
What's the surprise you have for me, Steven?
Funny you should ask, John. The surprise I have for you right here in my pocket is something I've had for months. It is, in fact, your very own Maniac cover sticker.
Wow. I've never seen this before. Thank you. What a good friend. I am impressed that I'm glad that you thought of me, and I'm glad that you held on to it for 6 months.
I did. I had that 6 months ago. I saw it in a collection of stickers being sold somewhere, and I went, John likes Maniac, that should be John's.
Well, I'm going to put it on my water bottle.
Put it wherever you stinking want. I don't need to know.
It's going on my water bottle. Talking about that, kind of like the infamousy that Maniac got, a lot of people kind of like lump it into the same category as like the video nasties within the UK, 1980s. They created this list that they considered to be too obscene for the general public.
So
but
stupid.
here's the funny thing about that is the video nasties list gets made, which basically just goes, here's all the fucking sickest shit to go check out, which is basically what people wanted to do. Like, oh, don't see that? Okay, I'm gonna go see it. I wasn't allowed to see R-rated movies, and I was like, well, what's so great about R-rated movies? So then I was obsessed with movies because they were rated R, not because of anything about it. The first R-rated film I ever saw was like this drama, like black drama film called like Soul Food, which is not. I watched it recently. It's like,
wow.
It wasn't. I don't know, but because it was rated R, I was like, fuck yeah, it's rated R.
That's amazing.
You know?
I love that. It's that forbidden fruit, and as soon as it's tangible, you just come running.
You know, it was like when you put the parental advisory sticker on albums, like, oh, this is the album I want.
I mean, there are people like you and I who sought out at some point during our collecting career to collect all of the video nasties. Because that is a cool thing. You get to go, hey, these are all the movies with offensive content. Well, if you're into offensive content, you're just like, they did all the hard work for me.
Well, and here's the irony, right? So the video nasties list comes along and bans these films. This is not acceptable. Now a lot of these films are being Hollywood produced to be remade for consumption. Hey, this is going to be our Halloween hit.
In my opinion, Maniac deserves a spot on that list for sure. It's a video, it's nasty. It should have been a video nasty.
And that's the interesting thing, is it wasn't prosecuted during that time, and it wasn't it didn't make it on the video nasties list, but it was seized by police all throughout like the UK and different parts of Europe for being offensive. And when they released the film, they were smart. They didn't go through the MPAA, because the MPAA probably would have given it an X rating. And then when they tried to go through the BBFC just banned it outright. And it wasn't until I think early 2000s before Maniac was available uncut in the UK.
What's interesting about this film is it's a good start for people who are looking to find kind of horrific exploitation films. But it's also a really good film for veterans to come back to. It may not be the most offensive of the films, even though the offensive nature of the film is up there pretty high. But if you're a veteran of the dirty, sleazy stuff, I think there's still a lot to appreciate in terms of dirtiness and feel. The film feels very New York, feels very sleazy, feels very dirty.
I feel like Maniac is kind of this weird line in the sand, and I'm going to try to articulate this the best that I can, but it's there's people who like watching horror movies, the spooky for the season people, the people that oh, it's Halloween, let's go all watch a scary movie, right? And then once you get into the more extreme stuff, it gets a little bit more gritty, and it goes from fun scared to uncomfortable. And I feel like Maniac is a good film that kind of starts going into that territory.
Maniac feels like an expose on a real psychopath, very much in the same vein of something like Edmund Kemper, where he has a relationship with his mom, just like Joe Spinell does with his mom. It's very also Hitchcockian kind of vibe with Norman Bates with his relationship with his mom. You have Joe Spinell. I think there's many parallels between those classic films and Maniac.
Maniac was, to a degree, influenced by true crime, the infamous shotgun scene. And for those listening who haven't seen this before, probably the most iconic scene in Maniac is where there's two lovers sitting in a car, and Spinell's character jumps up on top of the hood of the car with a shotgun and blows the boyfriend's head off. All with practical effects by the amazing Tom Savini. It's fucking killer.
Amazing. Who did effects for Dawn of the Dead, which we covered last week.
Yeah,
and who knows when he'll come up again. I mean, he may very well pop up again.
Yeah, but that scene was inspired by David Berkowitz, the Son of Sam serial killer, and he would drive around and he would shoot couples in their cars. Maniac is often compared to Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. I think it's similar in tone and similar in presentation, and that film is inspired by Henry Lee Lucas and Otis Toole, two serial killer friends who would murder people. Even franchises like Scream, where you've got Danny Rollins, who's the Gainesville Ripper.
So like it or not, I mean, if people really want to disassociate real violence from the films, there is some kind of element of truth there. There is a fair amount of interest and intrigue from people who take in true crime content to horror content. They're both different, but they're like evil twins.
Spinell's character is this big, brooding, sweaty, smelly guy. And Ed Kemper was kind of the same way. Not a great looking dude. He's just a big brute. But somehow he was the co-ed killer, and he was picking up hot hitchhikers and taking them home and cutting their heads off.
And both he and Spinell are very articulate, fairly sharp individuals. Spinell, you can tell with how smooth he was with the women in the movies, and no one would suspect a thing from a character like him. Because he was so easygoing, and anyone could talk to him. He could pick up a hot chick and take her out to dinner, and then later on in the night, scalp her and put her skinned head on the wall.
Yeah. So after this episode, I'm going to kind of look a little bit deeper and see if Kemper was an influence.
I wouldn't be surprised to hear that Edmund Kemper had something to do with this.
I've written to him a couple times. He's never written me back.
No.
I could ask him, hey, have you seen Maniac?
He'd be like, I am Maniac.
You have to talk about kind of the unofficial remakes. Maniac 2, Mr. Robbie, that was actually shot by Spinell. That came out in 1986. It's a short film, kind of a remake to the 1973 film The Psychopath, when the short film was created with the intent of getting funding to make an official sequel. But Spinell passed away before that actually happened. But during like the 30th anniversary release for, I don't know, it's probably a Blu-ray or something like that, they did put it out. I think it was a lost film for a little bit, but now it's available.
I've seen footage of Spinell talking about it. He takes it very seriously. He's a very good actor, and he takes acting very seriously. Yeah, he pulls no punches. I mean, you believe through and through he's the sweaty, gross guy he's trying to portray. I couldn't see anybody else play that role either. After you see Spinell in that role, you kind of go... I kind of look back to the remake that I had seen first, and I go, it is a little too glossy. You can't top Spinell. You have to do something different.
I will first say that I am a fan of Elijah Wood. I think that he actually is a big fan of independent filmmaking. So fuck yeah. And Lord of the Rings is sick. So.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings is sick. Elijah Wood gets a thumbs up from me. Pretty much what he stands for independent cinema. It's really cool.
Yeah, I would fucking be down to go get a drink with him and hang out with him. I bet we would actually have a good conversation.
Elijah Wood's going to be in the next Putrid Productions release.
If you want to, hit me up.
I would sign that petition. 100%. Somebody out there should start that. If that ends up on his doorstep, I'm going to take credit for that one.
He's probably going to change his mind after he hears what I have to say right now.
Oh, God.
I think he's a good actor.
Yes.
But why are you doing a redo? You would do a redo for something because you didn't make it right the first time. And I think Maniac is great. I wouldn't change Maniac for a second. Why does Maniac warrant a remake? It's already a classic, right? But also, who's going to play Spinell's character? And Spinell is this big, scary monster man, right? And Elijah Wood played Frodo. So you've got this big monster man. It's like if Frodo decided to play Hagrid. What are you doing?
Sure.
You know, it doesn't work, right? So
yeah, you have to basically reinvent the character because no one's gonna pull it off like Spinell did.
Elijah Wood is a small man, and I feel like him playing that character, if he was really trying to go after women, all they need to do is pepper spray him in the face, and he's down for the count.
Spinell looks like he eats pepper spray for breakfast. Doesn't he?
Yeah.
I mean,
you pepper spray him, and it's gonna just make him mad. It's not going to stop anything.
Right.
You know? And it felt clean. And the whole thing about Maniac is it feels nasty.
Yes.
And the art studio that he has in Maniac 2012, I'm like, oh yeah, I could sit down and eat my dinner there. Whereas the other one, I'm like, can we open a fucking window? It's musty in here.
I know. When he's not strangling women in the film and you're struggling for air just watching the scene, you're struggling for air because the room smells so bad.
Yeah.
You can watch every scene. You don't need one of those scratch-off cards to smell Maniac.
Yeah, that scene where they do the shotgun and blow the fucking head off. Savini really did shoot a shotgun through a fucking windshield of a car, and they had to shoot and get the fuck out. That's how you and I make movies, you know. And
run and gun. So
all of these like predecessors within extreme cinema were like taking risks and actually like paying out of their own pocket and working hard and breaking the law to make this fucking movie.
Sure.
And then someone comes along, specifically Alexander Ajar or whatever the fuck his name is. A lot of these films that he remakes were built off of, but now he gets to slap the label on himself saying, oh, I'm the director of Maniac, oh, I'm the director of The Hills Have Eyes, oh, I'm the director of whatever. And he uses that to promote his other movies. So he made the movie Mirrors, and I remember seeing the trailer for Mirrors, and it was like, from the filmmaker that brought you The Hills Have Eyes. And I'm like, eat shit. These original filmmakers were out there being fucking punk kids. He comes along and he's like, I'm gonna make Maniac, and I'm gonna frickin' dilute the whole thing down, and we're gonna scalp girls with CGI. I'm not even gonna fucking use practical effects. Maniac didn't deserve a remake. It's great the way it is.
Your films and mine are both made with that punk rock attitude in mind, first and foremost, just because that's what we have available. If you have a camera, if you have some friends, if you have a garage or a hotel room, you got to make do with what you have. When Lustig and Savini ran out into the middle of nowhere by that bridge and shot a hole through a real car and Savini ended up shooting his own head off, which is very kind of interesting.
Because he needed to do a cast of something, and he cast himself.
He cast his
Because he
own
didn't
head.
have... Yeah, because it was... You're just freaking working with what you got.
Sure, yeah. And then they had to shit and get. They shot the scene, and then they got out of Dodge because the police were going to come.
Yep.
And you and I know very well what that's like when we're shooting projects. It's like when we shot your short for Symphony of Suffering, for example.
So I made an anthology called Symphony of Suffering. You can buy it off Putrid Productions right now if you want. It's cool. But
it's cool.
My short has a naked dead girl in a sewer. And I didn't go get permits to go shoot this in the sewer. I asked my friend, hey, will you lay naked in the sewer with me? And we bound her up, and Steven put bruises on her and shit. She's laying naked dead in one tunnel. He's in the other tunnel, like, basically keeping guard in case anyone fucking shows up. And I've got a camera, and I'm up at the top walking down, and I see a homeless guy, and he's walking towards the sewer tunnel, and I'm like, fuck. So I have to call Steven, and I'm like, okay, dude, there's, like, a guy coming. So Steven has to go up and chase this guy away. But that was totally illegal. Like,
100%.
We would have gotten in trouble for, like, indecent exposure.
Oh, yeah.
Trespassing. Like, there was a sign that said...
penal code, whatever, blah, blah,
yeah,
blah.
like, but we just fucking got in there, did it, and got the fuck out. We had to chase out a homeless guy. Jessica was safe.
When I did the burn in the Blackheart Collectors Club, when I see a burn that's not as impressive as the burn that we pulled off. Because those of you who don't know, John helped shoot that scene. He's the only guy in a Boxcreep Films production behind the camera besides myself.
Yeah.
So you wear that badge with pride, my friend.
And we did a much cheaper Jimmy Rig light yourself on fire scene.
Yeah, and it was an awesome fire.
Yeah.
So when I see little pissant fires now in movies, I go, come on, we didn't have any safety equipment, and we pulled it off.
90% isopropyl alcohol and a 99-cent store spray bottle and some jackets from the freaking
thrift store.
Yeah.
People go, wow, you must have had protective gel and jackets, and I'm like, I don't know what that is. We just had jackets.
There's a spirit to that
Yeah.
that people can see with independent filmmaking that's lost when you get some $1 million diluted nonsense. People hit me up and they go, oh, should I go to film school? Should I do whatever? No one, once you're on a film set, I just care, can you do it? The people that come in and tell me like, oh, I have a degree in this shit, I feel like you're going to be a pompous asshole. I feel like you're going to be arrogant.
Yeah.
I think you're going to walk in and think that you fucking know everything. You're going to be flashing your degree in front of us and stuff, and you're going to get in the way. Can you do lights? Can you do what you're going to do? In fact, I know a lot of people who are well respected in the extreme underground who didn't finish high school. When it comes to art, I don't think anyone gives a flying fuck whether you went to fucking Harvard or anything like that.
There is no right or wrong way to pull off a million different things in life, honestly. There's more than one way to skin a cat in pretty much any aspect of life. And art is very much that way.
And there's more than one way to light yourself on fire and not die.
We found out one of them.
We invented it on the spot.
Yeah, we did. We also learned how to tie up a girl in a sewer and not get in trouble either. We've caused some trouble this last year.
Yeah, that's true.
But we had a good time doing it.
So I don't even know how the fuck we got here.
We got a little sidetracked.
Yeah. Hopefully you guys are enjoying it, I guess.
We're 3 takes in here, guys. Bear with us.
Okay, so there's another unofficial sequel. Severin Films actually just put out, which I was really, really hyped on, which is the 1982 film The Last Horror Film.
Well, Jonathan Doe, looks like we have a little more thunder and lightning in here. Means it's time for Mr. Mac's 30-second film review.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to Mr. Mac's 30-second film review. And the film we're covering today is Gorotica.
Start the clock!
For those who don't know, shot-on-video movies are a real hit-and-miss kind of a situation. With no money at all, this film is a prime example of exactly what can be accomplished on very little money. Hugh Gallagher's Gorotica is a massive hit in my opinion. With awesome acting and a really crazy off-the-rails story, these are just a few of the reasons why you should be made to watch this movie. And yes, you should be made to watch this movie. It's a very highly underrated movie, and I think it deserves to be seen. Thank you for making this film that was a big influence on me. This has been Mr. Mac's 30-second film review. Now let's get back to the show.
Thank you for the review, Mr. Mac. Appreciate that.
Guess it's mail time. But that doesn't look like mail.
That doesn't look like mail.
I think Mr. Hand's telling you to wipe your ass.
Oh, man. Are you trying to tell us that the show is kind of shitty or something?
Well, do you actually got something for us, or you...
There we go. Thank you for the mail today. In the toilet paper. Here's what we're going to do about this, huh? What do you think? Jonathan Doe, let's see where our mail comes from today. Our mail today comes from our friend Matt from Sick on Cinema.
Butter Gang, baby.
Butter Gang for life.
Good podcast.
Great show. We've both been guests on the show, which is really awesome. Matt wants to know, how do you all keep such an intense workflow and output? I personally find it hard to do stuff and keep everything in check, but you two manage to put out quality content at a fast pace. What is the process you guys do to get shit done? Thank you for the question, Matt. Let's see if I can hit that camera again here. Nope.
Awful.
Next episode. There's a couple pieces of advice I like to give people who ask me questions like this. If you're going to do a project, don't do anything financially irresponsible. Don't, if you don't have 10 grand to spend, don't spend 10 grand. But rule number 2 is actually just, I think, is important. If you want to get something finished, you have to accomplish something every day towards your goal. An hour or 2. You'll find if you have time to scroll on your phone and look at things on the internet, you can probably cut that back and redirect that time into a focused effort into making your project happen. Use it towards whatever project you want to do, and before too long, you'll have put in 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 hours worth of work, and you'll eventually step back and go, whoa, this project is almost done, and it will almost sneak up on you.
This will seem a little bit off topic, but it'll get into it. I think one mistake that a lot of people make is they are a little overambitious. So, especially with filmmaking, people will want to make a movie, right? And they'll sit and they'll write this script for $1 million film. But if you haven't done shit, then why the fuck is anyone going to give you any money? So you shouldn't sit and go, once Hollywood knocks on my door and gives me this multi-million-dollar budget, then I'll start making my movie. You need to start working with what you have. There's a saying that I really like that is, luck is a combination of opportunity and preparation. I don't know where it came from, but I heard it and I really like it a lot. And you have to kind of earn your salt, or earn your place.
Totally.
And so I've had people hit me up like, hey, can I be on your podcast? And I'll go, well, what have you done? And they go, well, I like horror movies. Well, you and everybody else. Why? But yeah. Why do you deserve to be spotlighted like that, right? I guess my advice is preparation and opportunity. If Hollywood knocked on your fucking door right now and said, hey, we're going to give you $10 million, make a movie. Well, if you've never picked up a camera before, you don't know what to fucking do. So my advice is, get out there and start working with what you fucking have right now. If you have no money and you've got an iPhone and you've got 3 friends and you've got a field outside, what can you do with that? Create a narrative with that. And it's like riding a bike or working out. Mm-hmm. You're slowly working on these skills. The first thing you're going to do is going to fucking suck. But why should it be fucking good? You've never done this before.
Sure.
Right? So give yourself a break.
You got to earn your stripes.
Yeah.
It just comes with the territory.
You need to get familiar and comfortable directing people. You got to get comfortable having a dialogue with people. You've got to be comfortable behind a camera. My first bit of advice for people, if you want to get into being creative, is work with what you have and start getting that experience. The other advice that I have is, if something's important to you, you'll make time for it. You get a new girlfriend and all of a sudden you've got all the time in the world to be on the phone with her. A new season of a show comes on and you want to marathon through it, you fucking make time for it. If this project is important to you, then every day take a step towards it. And kind of like what you said.
I'm really happy that you mentioned the whole thing with like a season, like a new season of a show. People go, man, I watched Game of Thrones in a month. I'm like, whoa. To me, that's a lot of time. Because every day you're spending a couple hours watching episode after episode. If you redirected that couple hours into working on your project, you'll have no reason why you can't finish it.
Yeah.
I made a movie every year for the last 3 years. Color Space Blood Red, Vapor Green in my last film.
Mhm.
And now I have video games coming out this year. They're probably out now when this episode drops. So pick up my video games.
Mhm.
And the fact is, there's really no magic to it. You have to just be so obsessed with an idea that it consumes you day and night, and you have to just work towards making that project happen. Come hell or high water, if you want a project, if you want to have your name involved in a project, carve your own path.
My mom had this saying, and it was, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
One bite at a time.
Yeah, and so...
If you can find a way to enjoy taking a single bite of an elephant at a time, that will actually help the process as well. Any final remarks on... what movie were we doing again? Any final words on Maniac?
This is one of my favorite films, and I think, and part of the reason why I wanted to do an episode on it was that it is a really good entry point for those that are wanting to like dip their toes into a little bit more extreme cinema. This is like a good first bite, and you can see if you like it or not, because it does get fucking worse.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a good like, ooh, do I like it a little bit spicier? Do I like it a little bit more painful?
This film is a nice little peek into the black,
Yeah.
where maybe a film like The Exorcist might be a little more polished. The Blair Witch had tons of commercial success. And then you have Maniac. But I was happy that we talked about it because it's one of my favorites as well. This is kind of, I believe, where maybe this more surface level stuff ends. And I think it firmly ends here in Maniac.
Yeah. I think this is like the entrance to the rabbit hole.
I like that. That's a really good way to put it.
Yeah.
Entrance into the rabbit hole.
You're kind of like, oh, do you want to go a little deeper? Okay.
Welcome. It gets dark.
We're tired as fuck, dude. It's like fucking almost 1 a.m.
Yeah, it's
So-
like 1 a.m. I'm full of cheeseburgers, and
Yeah.
I'm tired. Thank you guys for watching episode 6 of Scream Time.
Scream Time, 666.
We are more than halfway done with our season of Scream Time. So
Yeah.
thank you all very much for watching thus far. And stay tuned, we have more in store, including some really fun things coming up in the finale.
Scream Time, whatever, bye. See ya. I'm going to
Bye,
sleep.
guys. Bye, everyone. I like that. Scream Time, whatever, bye.